American football can be traced back to the late 1800s. It is a high collision sport. Different aspects of physics are present throughout all spaces of the sport. The forces and movement taking place in this game has influenced the way it is played and the rules present in the sport. Football originated on November 6, 1869 when Rutgers and Princeton University met for the first college football game. The game first resembled rugby. There were 20 players on a team and the game was purely running. The game started to see constant rule changes due to brutality and high injury rates. Walter Camp, the father of football and head of the Intercollegiate Football Association, instituted the new rules in the game. The number of players allowed per team was reduced to 11. The forward pass was also introduced. These two rule changes created a more open field and reduced the amount of mob tackles, making the game safer. A set of downs and punting was also introduced. In addition to rule changes, protective equipment also began to evolve. Shoulder pads were originally pieces of leather stitched in the jerseys. They started to gain popularity in the 1950s. In the 60s, shoulder pads were made out of hard plastic and foam. This decreased rib and shoulder injuries but became the source of heat-related injuries. New materials were incorporated into shoulder pads to increase airflow. The shoulder pads have evolved to provide protection throughout the entire torso without constricting movement. The first helmets were made out of soft leather and were called head harnesses. They were rarely used due to communication problems. This was replaced by helmets that provide full skull protection. These versions provided ear holes, the helmet was suspended from the head, and they were made out of hard leather. These helmets were improved upon throughout the 20s and the 30s. The first hard plastic helmet was introduced in 1939. This model has been improved upon over time. In addition, the face mask was added. Changes have been made to increase the helmet's ability to absorb impact. The original web-like interior is replaced by foam cells now. Helmets started to have air valves to provide a custom fit. One of the main modern safety concerns for football is the concussion rate. Concussions result from the head being jerked too hard by rapid deceleration from a hard hit. This causes neurotransmitters to fire off at an unhealthy rate, flooding the brain with unhealthy proportion of chemicals. Many athletes who have suffered a concussion report loss of brain function. Roughly 60% of all NFL athletes have said to have had a concussion sometime in their football career. New policies have been instated to reduce the danger of concussions in the sport. In 2007, the NFL Rules Committee decided that one cannot come back to a game or practice after suffering a concussion. Furthermore, a player has to pass certain neurological tests before returning to play. Players also now have to be analyzed by an independent physician in addition to a team trainer. The new in-game rules crack down on head-to-head collisions to reduce concussions. Large fines are issued to offenders. The ball used in football is unique in its shape. The design allows for spiral rotation in the air, providing greater accuracy. The spiraling motion cuts through the air, reducing drag. In throwing the football, the distance it travels mostly depends on the time in air and the velocity. One of the most memorable throws was in Super Bowl 42. For Eli Manning threw a 32-yard pass to David Tyree at approximately 50 miles per hour, which stayed in the air for less than 2 seconds. In the NFL, the average running back weighs about 215 pounds and can reach a velocity of up to 20 miles per hour. That leads to a blistering momentum of 830 kilogram meters per second. In order for an NFL linebacker of 235 pounds to stop the runner, he must be running at a speed of 17 miles per hour. Wow, that's fast for a big boy. But at Devin Hester's top speed of 23 miles per hour, no linebacker would outrun him in an open field race. Tackling any football player requires great amount of skill. One needs to be able to, first, grasp the player, and then apply enough force to stop and bring down the runner. The acceleration of an average NFL running back is 17 meters per second squared, leading to a required force of 1,658 newtons or 373 pounds. When tackling, a player rarely tackles someone at the center of mass. Because of that, it creates torque, or rotational force, turning the runner as he goes down. Sebastian Janikowski is one of the most accurate and powerful kickers in NFL history. He tied the record for the longest field goal of 63 yards. To kick a good field goal, the ball must be kicked at a certain velocity and angle. In the greatest of circumstances, Kicking a velocity of 70 miles per hour with a 45-degree angle, the ball could travel a distance of 100 meters or 109 yards.